Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. The panel is Art of Sales. Generally speaking, people don't voluntarily come to hear salespeople talk, so I appreciate everybody joining us. My name is Nassan Abraham, or Michael Abraham. I work in commercial insurance sales, and I'm going to be the moderator. Over the last week or so, I had the pleasure of spending some time with these wonderful gentlemen, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot from their experiences. Sales in general is the foundation of most successful businesses, and most relationships are what helps grow and keep the businesses running, so we're going to have a lot to add here. The panel is supposed to be until 2:30. At the end, at about 2:25, we're going to give the audience the opportunity to ask any questions, so please do. And we're going to start with each guy is going to give their quick intro. Chaim?
Hello. My name is Chaim Rutman. I am a partner at a company called Gertrude's Hosiery. We are importers of accessories and apparel. We sell to all different types, all different levels of retail, anywhere from customers like Walmart, where it's more of a customized approach, to independent retailers where we sell out of current inventory and catalogs. I am involved in the sales with major accounts, as well as oversee 12 sales reps that work for us.
My name is Mordy Sochaczewski. I work for ISTA Solutions. Thank you. My responsibility is the sales of the company. We set up remote teams for local companies in the Philippines. So when you call TD and you hang up the phone, that's my fault. The company currently has over 1,000 employees across 2 locations in the Philippines.
I'm Elli Schochet. I'm the managing partner of Algebron and Associates, an insurance brokerage that's been in the city for over 80 years. We're a boutique insurance firm that does group benefits, wealth management, and life insurance. And it's sales. I've been a sales guy for 27 years, but over the years it's changed to advisory. And I think what we'd like to do today is to give you some ideas of how, if you're in the sales business, to take it from not only just being a salesperson, but an entrepreneur and an advisor to your clients.
Thank you. So Elli, you mentioned that you started as a sales agent, and now you're the managing partner. Be able to share how that journey was and how you got from point A to point B.
So getting from point A to point B in sales or in any business, I would say we all get there on shoulders of giants. The other group in the other room is talking about mentorship and coaching. I'll say to everyone that it's on the shoulders of giants. We all get to where we get to because someone helped us. And anyone, when you look around the room, there is someone in any position that they've achieved success. They got there because someone else helped them get there. So how I got to where I got, I had mentors in the business over the years. I worked very hard and I had certain opportunities to buy into this business that I'm part of now. And it's 27 years, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Thank you. So Mordy, there's this thing happened a few years ago called COVID, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand that that's when your business started to blossom more. If you can share your experience a little bit.
So prior to working for ISTA, I was very involved in raising capital for mortgage investments. COVID happened. I didn't feel comfortable taking any of my investors' money because there's more risk and no upside. This came up, sounded great. Everyone working remote anyways. So now if you're hiring and the people aren't working out of office, use a company like ours where we would help with that training and really set you up for success out of the office environment.
Thank you. So Chaim, you had some interesting COVID pivoting, I understand.
So our company was a little bit different. We, as I said before, we sell to different levels of retail. So for 20 years, I sold the same way on a daily basis with the same customers. And then when COVID hit, 99% of my customers closed down. And the customers that were open, the essential ones, really didn't prioritize hair accessories and socks as the main thing during COVID. I don't really know why. I find it to be incredibly important. But so we went through a rough couple of weeks of having to stabilize the company and a lot of tough decisions. And my partners, and if there was a panel saying find the best partners, I would love to be on that panel because Barish Rottenberg is right over there, one of the best partners ever. So my partners came into my office and said, you're going to sell masks now, okay? And I knew nothing about masks. Don't tell anyone, I still pretty much know nothing about masks. But, you know, we went from selling 4,000 SKUs in our business to selling 5. And so it changed the business a lot. I will say, and I was thinking about it today, that it directly correlates to what we're dealing with here because for our business, at least for me, somebody from the community who was a friend of ours, but in a completely different industry, who was dealing with their own challenges in COVID, but was in the medical business, sat with us, sat with me, taught me the mask business, put me together with not only his company, but other companies similar to his, and really saved our business back then. And so all these conversations at H3 about helping, you know, the community, helping the community, we saw that firsthand during COVID. I would say that our company has changed since COVID, the way we sell. We don't really go to trade shows anymore. You don't need to. There's an understanding in our market that Zoom is, on the most part, as good as in person. So even though what we sell is very much fabric-based and touch-based, there's an understanding different than there was pre-COVID, and it completely changed the way we do business.
And your sales team, as a sales manager, was it hard for them to pivot into masks from socks?
Yes, most of them. One in particular, who also is here that I won't call out. The man could sell ice to Eskimos, so not him, but everybody else, sure, it was difficult again because you're learning an entire new commodity. We were lucky in the fact that everybody needed them, but like everything.
As their manager, how were you able to make that pivot internally?
Sense of urgency definitely played a part in it, but as well, product information. Okay, product information, competition is a big piece as well. Knowing who your competitors are, knowing what the needs are, knowing different merchandising. It's like anything. I think if you have a comfort in sales, you can pivot to any product relatively quickly. But that's, I would say, the secret sauce was learning the item more than anything else.
Thank you. And in your business, Elli, was there a lot of change with COVID as well?
COVID was huge in our business. You know, we went from, our business is interesting, it's very unique across the country. We have 16 back office staff people, and on March 16th of 2020, my partner called me up and said, Elli, we're shutting the office. This was about a week before Ford shut down everything. And we had to send everyone home. We had no idea how we were going to stay in business. We had no idea how we were going to continue to pay those 16 people, but we knew that we had to keep them safe. About a week before the pandemic, we started experimenting with Zoom. I don't know how many other people here did, but we pivoted really, really quickly, and we actually went on defense. So we were able to, instead of being aggressive with customers, we went on defense and we started to reach out to customers to assure them, because they really were, the whole world was upside down. People didn't know whether they would have a financial future, and because we're in the advice business and financial planning business, we looked at it as our role to pivot to give them advice and calm them down. So we changed our whole business model from being out there in sales to just comforting people, and then over time, we slowly moved back into the sales role. But it was, the key is being able to pivot and change the way you do business from face-to-face to Zoom. And in every business, you have to be able to pivot on the fly to be able to be successful.
Do you feel like you lost that personal touch at all, or was you able to keep that going with Zoom? Like today, like if you have a meeting, do you prefer it in person or through Zoom?
I love eyeball to eyeball. Nothing beats eyeball to eyeball in my opinion. The reality is, customers is more, it's easier for them to do it on Zoom. So where they want to do it on Zoom, we'll do it on Zoom. But nothing beats eyeball to eyeball. Were we able to accomplish what we definitely, I think our role changed to comforting people and giving them advice of how to survive the pandemic. And we got back to it eventually.
Okay, thank you. Staying with you, Elli, what has been the biggest challenge in business?
Biggest challenge in business was my partner dying. In 2021, my partner, we were partners for 7 years. His family had started the business back in the 40s, so it was a multi-generational family business. And he passed away from cancer. And it was sudden, and it threw us into a loop. The silver lining, there's no silver lining, but the good news part of it was that we planned. And we had done the proper succession planning in our business. We had done the proper buy-sell agreement, shareholder agreement. And I cannot tell you, just as an advisor, how important it is to get your documents lined up, to do things properly, to have agreements. That was the most challenging thing. Thankfully, we've been very successful over the years, and we continue to be successful. But the biggest challenge was facing that reality that there were two of us producing the revenue, and then there was one, and dealing with that. And I have a phenomenal team of 16 back office support people, most who have been with us for 25 years and above. Wow. They're a fabric of the organization. And the other key thing that allowed us to get through that was treating your staff like family, taking care of them, because the more you give them, the more they'll give back to you.
Thank you. Mordy, what do you find is the biggest challenge in business?
Biggest challenge in business. Really not having the tools, working. So I'll take a step back. I've been in business for 7 years. I had 5 job opportunities. That's a little bit of, it's a nice amount of opportunities. And I'd love for people to learn from my mistakes that I made when looking, and those offers that I had, if I would have been smart about it in the first place and not jumping into things, or creating structures in the contract where there's no question of what's going to happen in year 2 if you hit specific goals. It's only that much harder having it 2 years down the road when you already brought what you brought to the table. So really putting in the right formulas in place, knowing your value. Don't let other people tell you your value. You tell them what you're worth. And if they don't see it, you're not at the right company.
Great, thank you. Chaim, what do you find is the biggest challenge in business? Even though you have an awesome partner, how do you?
In our business, I would say the biggest challenge is we're in the fashion business. So you're always working at the speed of fashion and always keeping track and always staying up to date and always staying current. For us, that's difficult because you're always chasing the next season. And so you have to as well, and I would think that Elli and probably Mordy as well, each one of your clients, each one of your customers have their own DNA, have their own needs, have their own specific wants. And you have to customize each approach for those customers. It's difficult sometimes to be able to manage that much at one time. Now, as well, I have an amazing partner, so he's able to cover a lot of those needs for me because he knows that, I'm challenged in my own way. But I would say that's probably our biggest challenge, keeping up.
So, Elli, in our conversations, goals has been a big topic, and I wanted to know if you can share the importance of goals.
Where do I start and how long do we have? To me, goals are the most important part of a business. We see it in our day-to-day lives. I was speaking with Moshe Shwed, Rabbi Shwed, who's here from Old Daf. We see it from, the Daf Yomi is a goal to do something every day. In business, in sales, goals are pivotal because what it does is it focuses your mind. Just by the show of hands, I don't know if anyone out there, does anyone know who Roger Bannister was? You know only because I told you. Right?
You told me 2 days ago.
So this is just to kind of get your head around this, right? When you set a goal, what you're really doing is you're training your mind to focus on an achievement, on an end result. If you don't have a goal in mind and you don't set your goals, you're basically, whatever happens is going to happen. And you could be setting yourself up for failure. So Roger Bannister was the first person to run the 4-minute mile, meaning he ran 1 mile in under 4 minutes. That was in 1959. Up until that point in time, no one had done it. Can anyone guess, after Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, how long did it take for the next person, and how many people ran a mile in under a minute? Yeah, in under 4 minutes. It was a week. There you go. Who's listening? So what does that tell you? It tells you that prior to Roger Bannister doing that, people thought it was impossible. Once Roger Bannister broke that barrier, in the psyche, it became possible. You took for the impossible to become possible. And that's the magic of goal setting. When you set goals, what you're doing is you're training your mind to wrap your mind around the ability to succeed. Too often we get in our own way and we are self-limiting. I call it imposter syndrome, like you become successful and you feel you don't belong. You do belong because you have been successful. Setting goals is, in my mind, the key to success.
Thank you. Chaim, you want to chime in on the 4-minute mile or the goals?
I haven't run a 4-minute mile yet.
Have you run a mile?
No. These seats are very comfortable, though. I was worried that it was going to be on plastic chairs, and that would have been a problem. I'm gonna wait for another question on this one.
Well, I find part of the success is really the follow-ups and having a process. Sticking to a process, even if you're having not a great day, it will still have results. If you don't have a process, then you're just going to end up nowhere.
Chaim, you run a sales team, right? What experience, what works and what doesn't work?
In terms of motivating them?
Yeah, making them successful.
So I would say 5 things. I would say first is I would say motivating them and supporting them. And my colleagues here certainly touched on some of these. First of all is the financial piece. When I was, and I can only speak for my industry, there's many different industries obviously when it comes to sales, but in my industry you want to always motivate, incentivize your salespeople. And when I started a long time ago, it was commission only and people made serious money. For many reasons now, it's very hard to do a commission-only approach because sometimes it takes 4, 5, 6 months just to land an account. People have to eat in the meantime. So, and as well, you want to control your costs so that your pricing can be as competitive as possible. But salespeople need to be motivated. So, a salary plus incentive approach works best for us. Just to speak about that more for a second, commission versus bonus, at least on my side, commission works a lot better than bonuses for 2 reasons. One, I would say commissions, it's a lot easier to touch it, right? I'm selling this order or this piece of business for X amount of dollars, I'm gonna make this. Sometimes they can't see a bonus at the end of the year and how that's gonna play out. I would say as well, a bonus is tied to numbers. Once you hit that numbers, it's hard to keep them motivated if they've already hit their goal. So to me, commission is the best approach, even if that costs a little bit more. I would say investing in trade shows and leads, no matter what the industry is, will certainly keep them motivated in terms of new opportunities. I don't think there's a problem including the salesperson into some of those costs against future sales, as long as they know ahead of time. The one thing that kills a sales rep is thinking that the company's hand is in their pocket, okay? I think targets are important. I think putting together a realistic target, whether it's hit or not, and reviewing it every month, not only in terms of sales numbers, but in terms of how many new accounts to go after, even if you're launching a new piece of business, how many people you're gonna approach so that you have that data is important. I think the 2 most important things in my experience, first of all, is knowledge. Knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the competitors, knowledge of why what I'm selling is better than what they're selling, no matter what the item is. Whether it's insurance, whether it's an airplane, or whether it's a pair of socks, why is what I'm offering better than what they're offering? As well, like Mordy said, sales tools. whether it's in the form of marketing materials, or whether it's in the form of samples, whether it's in the form of competitive pricing. Give them the best package to be able to go out there. And lastly, and this took a long time, nothing destroys a sales rep more than a boss saying to them, it's easy to sell that customer, just go sell them. I think you have to listen. It took me a long time to learn that one. I'm not great. I'm great at talking. I'm not great at listening all the time. But to be able to listen to the salesperson as to what happened so that you can tweak the approach the next time around. You don't want to give the idea to your salesperson not to ask questions because they're going to feel silly. So I think that's the biggest piece. Might have been a very long answer for a very short question, I'm not sure.
Thank you. You mentioned conferences. I know, Mordy, you go to conferences often. What do you want to share something?
So my approach in sales is face-to-face and then follow-ups afterwards. You can compare personally. I know you said you're able to eliminate a lot of conferences, but once you meet a person face-to-face and then do the follow-ups, the response rate is significantly higher than not meeting them face-to-face. It's the people you get in front of at a conference, you'll never have those opportunities doing it.
At the conference, there's a lot going on. Like, how do you identify who you want to go after, or is everyone's a potential client?
So for me, everyone's a potential client. I don't differentiate. You never know who's actually you're going to land, or you speak to this person, he refers another person. So there is prepping, and you do want to know who you're selling to. So you really want to know the product that you're going to be selling and know the ins and outs and know who your competitors are. But at the same time, I like going after everyone. I don't want to be focused trying to hit up a specific person at the conference, because then you just miss out on everyone else, and you never know when they'll come back.
So you just go after everyone
Yeah. Okay. If you're a vendor, you're an operator, I don't care. Everyone's potential, and at the same time, you want to be nice to everyone. So you don't know where business will come from. You just got to do your stylist.
So Elli, you have experience. You're managing a team, and you mentioned that the team's been together for, I think it was 20, 25 years. So it's not necessarily your front-end salespeople, but they're doing a lot of the ongoing stuff, so they have to have some sales in them. So anything that you could recommend when you're managing people in that?
So we have an interesting process in our office. As I said, most of our staff has been with us for more than 25 years. My partner, Oliver Shalom, is the one that really developed the strategy around keeping good people. And that was to treat them really, really well. So, most of our staffers are on a 4-day work week. Most of them are not Jewish. Many of them are Italian.
Can I get a job by you? Sure.
In sales.
4-day work week.
Our Yomim Tovim are paid, whether they are Jewish or not Jewish. We have a profit sharing plan. We treat them really, really well. By doing that, what we've earned from them is their loyalty. And when our clients who have been with our company it's multi-generational, so some of them 30, 40 years, our staff that has been with us for 30, 40 years have been dealing with these clients in a service role for 20, 30, 40 years. They know them, and I'm not embarrassed to put my staff in front of a client for any part of the process, because the client trusts them. They're part of a team. It's delegating, it's being part of a team. We work very much on what we call the unique ability. And that is, every single person in our office has a unique ability of something that they're really good at. I have a unique ability of something that I'm really good at, and so I focus the majority of my time, probably 80 to 90% of my time, on my unique ability. The reason I have the staff is in order for me to be able, my unique ability is being in the boardroom in front of clients, explaining difficult, challenging strategies, complex strategies. So I have a team that frees me up from all the other things in order to be able to do what I do best, but it all ties back to them because they're compensated based on our success as a company.
Thank you. Chaim, when you're looking to hire a new sales guy, what's the most important trait you look for?
So first of all, I want to start with an apology. Avrami Martyr was trying to call me about 2 minutes ago. I'm going to talk to you when this thing is over. But it's an interesting question. I think it's subjective for every company. And I think it depends on company culture, and I think it depends on industry. But again, I'll tell you 5 things that I look for. Early on in my career, somebody said to me that people like doing business with people that they like, likable people. So the first thing I try to do in an interview is engage them in conversation. It doesn't really matter about what. Family, movies, whether they play poker, it doesn't really matter. But try to engage and understand how they speak and how they converse. Because if I can't sit in a room with somebody for 20 minutes, I don't think my customer is going to be able to spend any time with them.
They smell.
Second of all, I understand the idea of bringing people in from the same industry and not using the word poaching, but bringing people in that already have experience in that industry. I don't like doing it. I understand the advantage of bringing people in with a book or with a client list. I don't know what I'm inheriting with that client list. I don't know the experiences that the retailer has. So I try to bring in somebody that, it could be somebody who's already been in sales, but somebody that's new that we can mold to be a Gertex rep rather than be told what we have to do to support them. I think it's incredibly important to work with somebody that can read the room. Okay, so what we do in sales, no matter any of us, and I agree with Elli and Mordy, in person is always the best. You have 2 or 3 minutes to assess the person in front of you, okay? Are they aggressive or are they conservative? Do they want a hard and detailed approach, or do they want to get in and out of the room as quickly as possible? And you want somebody who's able to get that kind of a picture, and the only way to do that is, again, to converse with them in their experiences. You want somebody also that can work on the fly, okay? The biggest meetings I've ever had in sales are never ended the way they started, okay? You walk into a meeting, you have a perfect presentation, and that morning, the buyer's daughter told them that butterflies are the newest, hottest thing, and I don't have any butterflies in my presentation, or no one's wearing socks anymore. Everybody's only putting gloves on their feet. I don't know. I've heard some crazy things in my career. So you now have to pivot, okay, into, again, the word pivot. You have to pivot in that meeting and be able to work on the fly and be able to create something. In our business, there's something called the white space. It's that opportunity that nobody can see because they're not doing it right now. And most of the time that comes from just opportunity in that meeting where it's just thought of. And I want somebody there who has that. And to be honest with you, as I'm saying this, I also think that getting an idea of their memory is also very important. I will ask a question, maybe name your 2 or 3 best sales. I'd like to see that they can pick up, because a lot of the times in a sales meeting, you have to remember back on the fly as to what worked in order to make that happen. And the last thing is how nicely they can play in the sandbox. Again, to my experience, sales is the one thing that everything is encompassed around in the company. There's nothing that doesn't hit sales, whether it's finances, whether it's product development, whether it's sourcing or pricing. If somebody's going to have a temper tantrum every time there's a problem, it can affect company morale in a big way. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be issues. And in our company, we only have room for one person who has temper tantrums, and that's me. So, right, Parrish? So we don't have room for anybody else to do that. So you want to be able to find someone as well. Customers can be very difficult as well, and you have to spend a lot of time chasing them. You want to have somebody that can be a little bit more even-keeled. That's what I look for.
Thank you. Elli, you mentioned your office works in a unique trait, and everybody focuses on their unique trait. You speak to how that helps your office and your business, and you're able to sell.
So again, what it does is it allows people, everyone has a strength. We use something when we hire people called a Kobe test. The Kobe index is a methodology to figure out what a person's strengths and weaknesses are, and we hire to their strengths. And then we take those strengths and we allow them to focus just on those strengths. So if I have someone who's really good at developing presentations, then most of their time is going to be spent developing presentations. I'm terrible on the computer and developing presentations. So I'm not going to spend 10 hours doing something that they can do in a half hour. So everyone has what they're good at, and they focus their ability on that, and it brings the whole level of the office up.
And opposed to them not doing things that they're not good at, where it would cause a lot of that stress.
Right. So I'm a big believer in being a specialist, even within the sales process, right? Specialize in a product, be the best, know your product, know what's out there, be a specialist. So within the office as well, everyone has their specialty and focuses on their specialty.
Okay. So Mordy, do you have anything when you're looking, you mentioned that anyone could be your client. Do you have any experience with hiring people and that to work for you? Or do you look for a specific personality in the client?
I have more experience looking for a job. So
Oh,
I
so
can tell you on that
let's
side.
go there, sure.
Right now, I have no one working under me. It's just me on the sales team. From the client perspective, I look for clients that have over 30 employees. Anything less than that, typically, is not the right ideal fit, because we're more focused on the team size. In regards to looking for jobs, I learned to look first. I look at who stands behind the company, what they represent. Once I like what they represent, I look at the product I'm selling, try to speak with the other sales reps if there are any, try to get the experience, because they're gonna throw numbers at you. You can make millions of dollars, but is it actually realistic numbers? I mean, like you're saying, Ellie, there's no real number. You could outdo any number, but you want to know what previous history proved, and how long it will take for the sale to make sure your numbers are on par. Now, once you get past that, you really want to make sure you're getting the tools to sell as well. So it's great if you could give me a lot of money if I sell, but you're not giving me any of the resources. It's going to be a lot harder to sell the product. So luckily, the position I'm at now at ISTA, they gave me everything I needed. Any trade show.
Were you able to see that up front? Or
I was able to see that up front because I had other offers at the tables, and the other ones were very clearly, they didn't want to invest a penny in me. Everything was a draw. And then here's a base, here's a credit card, I want you to go to as many shows as possible.
How does that,
take out clients.
Looking for a job, how does that feel? When you're looking at the different companies, a company that's taking care of you, like how does that help you in day to day as you move forward, not just making the decision of where you're going to work?
Well, it means they value you, and you want to feel valued. And they're a successful company to begin with as well, so they know the process that needs to be taken in order for you to be successful.
So you're able to
follow that path, and obviously it's a win-win. The more sales you bring in, the more money they're making. So if you're making more money than they're making as a company, then there's a different problem.
I want to add one thing to what Mordy said. The hardest thing I struggle with, discipline in sales, is recognizing customers that we just can't service. And it's it's a very hard discipline. For me, especially, because I'm a man that wants to eat everything at the buffet. But the fact of the matter is that there are, in my business, and I'm sure in all of our businesses, there are certain retailers or there are certain customers that the infrastructure of your company cannot handle. Whether it's not worth it at the end of the day, given terms or other issues, or just in terms of the amount of resource it'll take. There's a discipline, but you have to try as hard as you can to recognize that, because you don't want to go too far down the hole and then realize the amount of resource that you've burnt.
Thank you. Okay, it's 2:25. Is there anybody in the audience that had any questions? Give him a mic. Come forward. No? Okay. Come forward if you have any questions. Come forward. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh wow, it's getting official.
I'll give you the mic.
Come on, Tim.
They're going to answer, so you take hold on.
Yeah. I just had a question for Ellie. You mentioned, so I just started B2B sales about a month ago, and I'm realizing how important goals are, like you mentioned. It's a little bit difficult to know where to put a goal. I'm just kind of getting used to knowing how far I can reach, how close, but there's also different things within sales. You know, there's a few goals that I have in different sectors, and I kind of just wanted to know, I guess, are there too many goals you can put out? What's kind of the range? Because there's some things like I want to make this amount of calls per day. And then there's another thing like, you know, I want to make a sale by this point. When does it get that there's too many goals? Or how kind of small should they be? Should you have smaller goals and larger goals? How does that whole process work?
That's really a great question. I think when it comes to goal setting, you start at the end of what you want to accomplish. And then you work backwards to what do you have to do to accomplish that goal. So for example, if your goal is to make X number of dollars a month, let's kind of start with the simple stuff. Because as sales guys, we eat what we kill.
Right.
And I'll speak about that in a second and how do you get your head around that. So you know what you want to earn at the end of the month. Now, you have to work backwards to say, how many appointments do I need in order to close that number of deals? So now you know how many appointments you need. Okay? The next is, how many phone calls do I have to make in order to get that number of appointments to close that amount of deals? And so you keep bringing it backwards to what do you have to do on a daily basis, or what do you have to do on a month? I have to go to X number of trade shows to develop this number of leads, to make this number of calls, to have this number of appointments, to make that sale. So I don't believe that I think what you do is you start at the end and you really bring it back to a daily goal, and sometimes it's more than a daily goal, like several things that you have to do on a daily basis. I'll tell you that I think that success comes, the only time that success comes before work is in the dictionary. Right? And it's really true. You have to really meet your goals on a daily basis. Do everything that you have to do consistently. That helps you to get to the end. Just one thing I want to say to salespeople out there, it's very challenging knowing that we have to make a certain number of sales. Certainly when I started at the beginning, every month it was, okay, what do I have to do this month to pay my bills and pay the rent? And okay, I may be alone if there are other sales guys out there. Maybe you shared this. So how do you get your head around that and maintain a positive mindset? I think put yourself on salary. Because one of the big dangers in sales is you can be up one month, you can be down the next month. Chaim alluded to this. So you want to have consistency in your life. It doesn't mean if you need $6,000 a month to live and you make $10,000, you have $4,000 to go and buy a good suit or go to Florida. What you want to do is you want to set yourself up that you become your own boss. You are an entrepreneur. So you becoming your own boss means you have an expense, meaning you are your employee. So you're going to pay yourself a set salary, whatever it is. So if you need $6,000 a month, you have to make sure your business earns enough to pay your employee $6,000 a month. And you keep the rest in the bank, in the business bank account, and pay yourself separately so that in the downside, right, you always have money in the bank to keep paying yourself the same.
Perfect.
Hope that helps.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Raviv. Thank you guys for your time. My question is, now, as a sales guy, I want to sell at a scale. I don't just want one or two. I want to sell large. So now, how do I get into large franchises, large businesses where there's a whole structure, right? How do I sell it? Essentially, A, how do I sell at a scale? And B, how do I sell to big companies?
It's yours, baby.
Do you mean, yeah, do you mean how do you get a hold of them in today's market? Or I'm trying to understand the question. Like, what do you mean by that? How do I sell them?
First, how do I get in touch with them? Because they usually have a website or there's an email, but you send that email, you don't hear back,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
A, how you get a hold of them, and B, what can you do to stand out? Because they probably have access to millions of providers.
So it's an excellent question. And
Thank
it's
you.
a question we struggle with at our company after 60 years, especially now after COVID. Nobody works at a desk anymore. So it's not so easy. Morris, you see that? Like nobody works at a desk. You can't just get them on the phone anymore. We used to be able to. You would call them at weird hours, or you'd make up names at the secretary and tell them you're calling from their kid's school. Whatever you had to do. I have done that.
Been there, done that.
Whatever you had to do to get them on the phone, but there's no secretary anymore, let alone anybody sitting at a desk. LinkedIn's been a tool, not a very good one for me. I think trade shows. I don't know what you sell, so I'm going to say it blind. You don't have to tell me.
Everything.
Pardon me?
Everything.
Everything.
First
Okay,
problem.
that makes life a lot easier for me. So depending what everything means, and we could talk about it off.
He sucks.
Trade shows for socks. Find a new career. Trade shows are helpful, okay? There are trade shows out there that, again, depending on the industry, there are trade shows out there that are a little bit expensive, that you get guaranteed meetings with buyers of a certain industry. That's always very helpful because it's very hard to get them on the phone. In terms of what do buyers look at now, again, depending on the industry, I think you have to have strong marketing materials. I think you have to have something. I don't think people are looking at websites anymore. We just had this conversation. Actually, Barish, we could continue the conversation about 30 seconds now. But nobody looks at websites anymore. So you have to have a strong presence online. Okay, you have to, buyers, I think, if it's my industry, buyers want to see what you have. They want to take a quick look at you. They want to see what you have in stores. If you can direct them to other stores that you're in so they can actually see the product there and how it's merchandised, I think everybody's looking for a lot easier today of an approach. Nobody's looking anymore for a big PDF by email. I think you have to get your message out there as quickly as possible, mostly from product that's already been done in execution, right? Anybody can send a catalog from a factory in China as to what they sell. I think people are looking today at what makes you special that I don't already have, because there are very few things that we go to retailers with that they're not already seeing from somebody else. So what makes you special from other people? Not you, you're very special, but other people, okay? That's what I would say.
I would say also conferences, number one, and trying to get your testimonials from existing clients. So if you have any big customer already and you say, hey, look, they're my client, it's a lot easier to get their attention.
I would say referrals, if possible. Referrals and relationships drive business. So the more that you can work off of referrals, it sets you apart from other people.
Saying that, though, it's not like he can go to Walmart and say, speak to my target buyer. Like, I understand where he's coming from in terms of big retail, but
Depends
yeah.
what he's selling.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Testimonials, if you can show what you have at other retailers, it probably goes the furthest way. That's what I think.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
We have time for another question, or? Yeah, one more. Oh, okay. Well,
Two more.
two.
One question, 8 parts.
You guys
We
can
could
fight it out.
continue offline afterwards.
Do it together.
Hi, I'm Yaakov Middleman.
I'm Yisha Kopperman.
My question was for, since you guys are working in sales, have you found any specific technology systems that specifically have worked in order for you to A, fill your pipeline, continue moving the button, following up with your customers? Because as we all know, whoever's in sales, you're not getting a sale done in the first day. Very, very unlikely. So is there anything you found technology-wise, system-wise, that's really helped you with that process? So that's what sales, I find sales, that's all
You're
it's
talking
about.
in terms of CRM?
CRM, filling up your pipeline, stuff like that.
I'm the wrong guy to think answer this question. I'm like a 90-year-old man stuck in a 45-year-old body. But for me, as a sales manager, I will tell you that unfortunately, you have salespeople that leave all the time. And so you want to have some sort of a record as to where you are with every customer, that if a guy picks up and leaves, you have a record. As a sales, because I have 2 hats, right? So as a sales manager, to have people feed that into the information and you having the time to review it, I think it's incredibly helpful. As a salesperson, I haven't been so successful in that. Everybody has their own system, whether it's WhatsApp or Slack or this or that. I just find the more technology makes life a little bit more difficult for me. That's just me. But I've seen many tools out there. We tried to incorporate Salesforce into our system. I don't know if anybody here works for Salesforce. I won't say anything, but it was challenging. It was challenging, my opinion. But you guys might have a different way.
So I say CRM is crucial. I mean, we just spent, a fortune of money upgrading our CRM. We happen to use Dynamics. It's customized. So by using the CRM, having that record of customers on a consistent basis, no one is indispensable, and people leave. So you want to always have the trail out there. So I'd say CRM is important.
Yeah, document everything. I use Pipedrive. I happen to like that. It's easy, it's simple, don't overcomplicate things. I try out multiple different avenues. It really depends on the business. Like if you're going to do mass marketing, if you're selling socks to Walmart, it's not going to work.
Right.
But if you're selling socks to end users who want to buy subscription packages, maybe that will work, and you would use.
As long as you're selling socks.
As long as it's socks, but it's a monthly subscription package. You get 3 new pairs of socks from Gertex, sponsored by H3. You're good.
That's a good idea.
All right?
I'll do it quick. Okay, last question. Okay, I'll do it quick. I wrote a riddle book about Harry Potter. Okay, I was able to sell like a couple of thousand in Israel, and then I wrote another one. Now, I want to know, in your opinion, what's the best way to preserve your buyers, your customers? Like, are you keep sending them like emails or something? How do you keep like a community of buyers that will come back again? Customer retention. Yeah.
We touch our customers 8 times a year on a regular basis. Different ways that you're touching them regularly so that they don't forget about you.
Like, you just keep in touch, or are you offering more stuff
This
to buy?
conversation's for the after party.
I think our panelists will be around afterwards for additional questions. Thank you very much.